Maybe you were looking around archive.org or an abandonware website and discovered that nostalgic piece of software that you just had to relive. After downloading it, you discovered inside whatever compressed file that you got is only a .bin and a .q. What to do with those? If you haven't been around for the 90s and you've never burned or ripped a CD before, you may be unaware of these files. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to convert a .bin and a .q into something more familiar and usable, like a .iso, that we can mount under Linux. A Q file is like a table of contents or an index. It references where on the CD music or data should be stored. A bin file contains raw binary data. When writing the binary data to a CD or media, the Q file keeps everything organized. So how do we make an ISO file from a bin and a Q? Let's head over to the terminal and I'll show you. The ISO file can be found quite regularly in the wild today. Most Linux distributions are released in ISO format. Using the Linux bchunk command, you can create a mountable ISO image from a set of QBin files. The bchunk command should be available in your Linux distribution's repository. If you are using Linux Mint, bchunk is installed by default. If you're not sure if you have it or not, just type bchunk in your terminal and hit enter. And if you get something to what you see here, then you should be good to go. If not installed, you can always use sudo apt install bchunk. And as you can see, we already have it installed. And that command will work throughout the Debian world. If you're on a different distro, you'd have to use the package manager provided with your distribution. So the syntax for bchunk is actually quite simplistic. So we've got a bin and a Q file in this directory. SimCity is an old game from 2000. Which I actually own, just to point that out. And what we're going to do is bchunk, and you put your bin file goes first, and your Q file is second. And the end, you just put what you want the output file to be. So we'll just call it SimCity, all one word. You don't need to put the extension. And hit enter. And quite quickly, you can see we have and that's our ISO file. bchunk will automatically put a 01 on the end of your file name, but if you want to change that, you can just do a quick rename. We'll just call it sc.iso. Okay. So now that we have our .iso file, sc.iso, we can go ahead and mount it. First step is to create a directory to mount it to. So we'll just call it mount. And then our mount command. Type ISO 9660. And our file. And the dot here is just referring to the current directory that we're in. Option loop device. And that is mounted. So now, if we go into our mount directory, so there we have our files from our mounted ISO image. if you wanted to just test things out quickly here, right? Once you're done with your ISO image, make sure you're not in that directory as a working directory, and then you can unmount. And now you can check if you go in here. You shouldn't see anything. And we don't. So that's how you get a bin and a queue file into an ISO file and mount it in order to work with it. If you happen to have a CD drive still in a computer at home or an external one, and you want to make an actual ISO copy from your own CD, what you can do, figure out what your drive is, or your CD drive. This is my device here. And we're only concerned with this little bit. So what you can do is just a simple cat command with a redirect. Probably hear that spinning up in the background. Using this method, there's no indication of progress or how long things take. There are other methods to do this. You could use DD. So now, if we do a list in this directory, there's our ISO image. And if you want to compare to the other file, we can use our disk use, and if we go back a directory, you can see that the file is the same size, the exact same size. So that's a method actually you can use, and you can go ahead and mount that file. Just make another directory the same. I'll just use the same. So that's just the same command we just used. And if we go into this new mount directory, you can see all the same stuff that we just saw, and it works the same way. It's all just as functional as it was before. So if you found this video helpful, please give me a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.